Welcome back, Paradox Explorers. Have you ever looked up at the night sky and just wondered, pondered the vast, swirling mysteries beyond our little blue marble? The unexplained, the unidentified. What would you do, honestly, if you were face to face with something completely alien? Today, we're not just wondering, we're diving headfirst into one of the most intriguing and frankly chilling encounters in UFO history. We're talking about an ordinary man, Stefan Michalak, and his extraordinary tale from Falcon Lake, Manitoba, back in 1967. With me today, as always, are my brilliant co-conspirators in curiosity, Martin, our folklore specialist, and Doug, who brings his invaluable medical perspective. Martin, Doug, thanks for being here.
Thanks for having us, Peter. You know, when we talk about extraordinary tales, this one really stands out. It's not just a fleeting light in the sky. It's a very personal, very physical story, and those are the ones that really embed themselves in the collective consciousness, aren't they?
Absolutely. And from a medical standpoint, what fascinates me is the immediate, undeniable physical impact this incident had. It wasn't just a psychological event for Stefan. His body literally bore the marks of something profoundly unusual. That's a different caliber of evidence than your typical "I saw a light" story.
Exactly, and that's what makes the Falcon Lake incident so compelling. So, let's set the scene. It's May 20th, 1967. Stefan Michalak, an amateur geologist, is out doing what he loves, prospecting near Falcon Lake in the serene wilderness of Manitoba, Canada. Beautiful day, peaceful, until it wasn't. Martin, that contrast between the mundane and the utterly bizarre is key to these narratives, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's the everyman aspect. He wasn't looking for UFOs. He was just living his life, doing something completely ordinary. That makes his story incredibly relatable and therefore more believable for many. It's not some eccentric conspiracy theorist out in the desert. It's a regular guy chipping away at rocks. And then, boom, his world completely changes.
And the first disturbance, according to the account, came from a flock of agitated geese. Animals often have a heightened sense of danger or unusual phenomena. Their alarm could be seen as an early warning sign, a biological barometer for something unnatural entering their environment. It adds another layer of credibility, even before Stefan sees anything.
That's a fantastic point, Doug. The geese definitely set the stage. Stefan looks up, and he sees not one, but two cigar-shaped objects descending from the sky. One ascends and disappears, but the other lands nearby. Stefan, naturally intrigued, or perhaps just plain curious, approaches it. I mean, Martin, what compels someone to walk towards an unidentified craft that's just landed in the woods?
It's that primal human curiosity, isn't it? That desire to understand the unknown, to experience something extraordinary. It's the adventurer in all of us, even if it's buried deep. Plus, imagine the sheer spectacle. A cigar-shaped object descending from the sky. It's not something you see every day. And the fact that one shot off, but this one landed, it almost felt like an invitation, a challenge, or just sheer luck, to be that close to something truly momentous. It's a huge gamble, but one many would take.
It's a high-risk decision, definitely. From a survival instinct perspective, you'd think run, but curiosity is a powerful driver, and he describes it as a saucer-shaped object, glowing with an unearthly light. That's a significant detail. The unearthly light suggests a high-energy source, something beyond conventional lighting technology even today, let alone in 1967. It might have even been a draw, a visual lure, despite the inherent danger.
Indeed, so he gets closer, drawn in by this otherworldly glow, and here's where it gets truly wild. Stefan reaches out to touch the object, and his glove is instantly incinerated by intense heat. Incinerated. Doug, as someone who understands the human body and trauma, what does that tell you about the energy involved?
Incineration, especially immediate incineration, means extreme, localized heat. We're talking temperatures far beyond anything a normal aircraft's surface would reach, even during re-entry, let alone one that's just landed. It suggests a surface temperature that's not just hot, but actively radiating intense thermal energy, possibly in a controlled way or as a byproduct of its propulsion or energy system. Such heat could cause immediate third-degree burns, destroying tissue down to the bone in an instant. The fact it incinerated his glove immediately indicates a massive amount of thermal energy concentrated at that point of contact. And this detail, Peter, it's so visceral. It's not just a description, it's an action, with an immediate, violent consequence. It anchors the story in reality for the listener, even as the event itself defies reality. It's proof, in a sense, that this object wasn't benign, that it possessed power we can't comprehend. It also raises the stakes, showing Stefan's bravery or perhaps recklessness.
He then peers into the craft through an open door or hatch, observing a maze of lights and beams inside. Now this description, Martin, maze of lights and beams, it's specific enough to be memorable but vague enough to be alien, right?
Exactly. It perfectly captures that sense of advanced, incomprehensible technology. It's not dials and levers like our cockpits. It's something entirely different, something almost organic yet utterly alien. It adds to the mystique and confirms that this is not a human-made craft. It also plays into the classic UFO narrative tropes that have emerged since the 40s and 50s, but Mikulak's account predates much of that, so it's a very pure, unfiltered observation, not influenced by widespread media depictions.
From a purely scientific perspective, lights and beams could suggest optical sensors, energy conduits, or data processing, but without more context, it's speculative. What's crucial here is that he didn't just see a light. He saw inside something, giving an interior glimpse, however brief and confusing. That differentiates it from a distant sighting. He was truly interacting with it.
And then, things take a turn for the worse. Suddenly, the craft begins to turn counterclockwise, and as it does, it releases a blast of hot gas. This isn't just a gentle breeze. This gas sets Stefan's shirt on fire and leaves him with severe burns. Doug, can you describe the nature of these burns? Was it just heat, or was there something else at play?
The description hot gas is critical. If it's pure thermal energy, it would cause what we call a flash burn or a contact burn if he was close enough to the gas itself. But the additional context, severe burns and later radiation sickness, strongly suggests more than just heat. Intense heat can certainly cause immediate second or third degree burns, rapidly destroying skin layers. However, the mention of later radiation sickness points to the gas potentially being superheated steam mixed with radioactive particles, or the gas itself being irradiated, which would cause both thermal and radiation burns. Radiation burns are insidious. They develop over time, causing cell damage that can lead to delayed wound healing, necrosis, and a distinct grid-like pattern, which aligns with his later symptoms.
The terror of that moment must have been indescribable. Imagine going from quiet prospecting to your clothes being on fire, disoriented and in pain in the middle of nowhere. It's the stuff of nightmares. And the specificity of the counterclockwise turn and the blast of hot gas, it's so detailed it makes the story feel incredibly real, like he's reliving it. It's not a generic attack, it's a very specific, almost mechanical retaliation.
Disoriented and in pain, Stefan stumbles through the woods, eventually making his way back to his motel. He was later treated for his burns, and this is another crucial detail. The burns formed a distinct pattern of dots. Doug, this pattern of dots on his body, what does that signify from a medical perspective, especially in the context of what you just mentioned about radiation?
A distinct pattern of dots is exceptionally telling. If it was simply a blast of hot gas, you'd expect a more diffuse, irregular burn pattern. The dots strongly suggest that the energy or radiation source wasn't uniform. It was likely emitted through some sort of grid, vent, or array of small apertures on the craft. This grid burn or spot radiation pattern is characteristic of localized, directional energy exposure, rather than a broad, uncontrolled explosion. It's a very specific type of injury that aligns with exposure to something highly technical, not a natural phenomenon. And coupled with the symptoms of radiation sickness, nausea, vomiting, headaches, fatigue, skin changes, it paints a clear picture of exposure to ionizing radiation. And this is where the story shifts from a mere sighting to a full-blown physical incident with tangible evidence. The burns aren't just burns, they're a unique imprint, almost a signature of the event. It's what elevates Mikulak's account above so many others. It forces even skeptics to pause and consider the possibility that something truly extraordinary happened, because the evidence is literally etched onto his body.
And if the burns weren't compelling enough, there was an even more startling discovery. A radioactive circle found at the encounter site, further strengthening Stefan's account. Doug, how significant is the discovery of a radioactive circle in the middle of a Canadian forest?
Incredibly significant. A localized radioactive hotspot in a natural environment is highly unusual. It points directly to a non-natural source. Radioactivity isn't just something that appears randomly in concentrated circles. It implies that something that uses or produces radioactive material was present and likely left a residual footprint. This provides an independent scientific corroboration for Stefan's story. It's a physical trace that transcends his personal testimony, making it much harder to dismiss. It adds objective data to a subjective experience. This is where folklore meets forensic science, isn't it? The story gains immense power because it's not just a witness saw X, but witness saw X. And X left a traceable mark on the land and on his body. It pushes it beyond anecdote and into something far more substantial, something that cries out for an explanation, even if one isn't readily available.
Despite this compelling evidence, Stefan's story, like many, was met with skepticism. Yet he never changed his account, maintaining its authenticity until his death in 1999. Martin, why do you think these stories, even with physical evidence, still face such an uphill battle for acceptance?
That's a fantastic question, Peter, and it's at the heart of how we process the unknown. Skepticism is a natural, healthy response to extraordinary claims. Our brains prefer patterns, predictability, and things that fit into our established worldview. When something fundamentally challenges that worldview, like an alien craft injuring a person, it creates cognitive dissonance. It's easier emotionally and intellectually to try and explain it away, to attribute it to misidentification, hallucination, or even hoax, than to accept a reality that would turn everything we thought we knew upside down. But Stefan's unwavering consistency, his lack of seeking fame or fortune, really speaks volumes to his sincerity. He just kept telling his truth.
And from a scientific community perspective, while the burns and radioactivity are significant, they don't provide a definitive smoking gun linking it irrefutably to an alien spacecraft. There's still a leap of faith required. We can say something unusual caused these burns and this radiation, but proving the what is the challenge. The scientific method demands reproducibility and verifiable observations, which are difficult to achieve in a single, isolated incident like this. But again, the evidence itself is highly unusual and not easily dismissed by conventional explanations.
Exactly. The physical evidence, the burns on Stefan's body, the distinct patterns, and the radioactive materials found at the site were genuinely hard to dismiss. Yet there was no satisfying official explanation. The case was, and remains, officially unexplained. Martin, what's the power in a case remaining officially unexplained?
The power of the unexplained, Peter, is that it keeps the door open. It feeds our collective imagination. If it were definitively debunked, the story would lose much of its luster. But by remaining an open question, it becomes a canvas onto which we project our hopes, our fears, and our deepest curiosities about our place in the universe. It becomes a modern myth, a story told and retold, prompting us to ask, what if? It allows the mystery to persist, which, for many, is more intriguing than a neat, tidy answer.
And from a medical perspective, the burns themselves, especially the grid pattern, are still something that doesn't have a common terrestrial explanation for how they were acquired in that specific context. We can treat them, we can understand their pathophysiology, but the etiology, the cause, that's the part that remains enigmatic. It's a medical anomaly, just as the radioactive site is an environmental anomaly. The human body doesn't just spontaneously generate these kinds of injuries.
The Falcon Lake incident truly remains a fascinating chapter in the annals of UFO encounters. It captures the essence of our collective fascination with the unexplained and the unidentified. It's a tale that continues to intrigue, to captivate, to inspire questions. What happened that day at Falcon Lake? We may never know for sure, but what we do know is that this incident and others like it challenge us to keep our minds open to the mysteries of the universe, to the possibility of life beyond our own, and to the endless potential of the unknown. Doug, any final thoughts on keeping that scientific yet open perspective?
I think it's crucial to separate what we know from what we don't. We know Stefan Michalak suffered severe, unusual burns and radiation sickness. We know there was a radioactive site. The mechanism, the who or what, remains unknown. But admitting we don't know is a scientific statement in itself. It's an invitation to further inquiry, not a dismissal. It means we should continue to observe, collect data, and remain receptive to explanations that may challenge our current paradigms. That's how science advances.
And for me, it reinforces the idea that the human experience is full of wonder and sometimes terror. These stories remind us that we're part of something much larger, something that defies easy categorization. They push the boundaries of what we consider normal and remind us that sometimes the most extraordinary truths emerge from the most ordinary of days. Stefan Michalak's story isn't just about a UFO. It's about human resilience, curiosity, and our enduring quest to understand the vast, incredible cosmos.
Beautifully put, both of you. And that's a perfect place to leave it for today. The universe is vast, full of paradoxes, and it's our privilege to explore them together. Keep those minds open, keep those eyes on the skies, and join us next time on Into the Paradox. Thank you for listening, and we'll catch you then.